Luci the Elephant, most attractive tourist attraction near Atlantic City. October 12th, I, along with my friend Alamgir, went to visit Lucy. It's about 5 miles away from my location. We got to go there, and the guide was able to take us inside the Lucy, and he's described about Lucy. Please hear to him.
These buildings that are shaped like animals, but it's one of them $10 words. Every time you say it, people think you're smart, so feel free to use it anytime you want. Now, before we go up, I'm going to give you an overview of Lucy's history. We're going to go inside. We're going to watch a really cool movie all about her. Unfortunately, we cannot go up on the observation deck on the Howdah, but I do have some surprises for you. I think it might make up for that, so let's see what happens. Now, Lucy was built in 1881. To give you an idea where that was in the American history timeline, the Civil War ended 12 years before that. It was the same year as the famous gunfight at OK Corral. There were 3 presidents that year. It was such a great year, we had 3 presidents. I don't remember any of their names. Speaking of names, it was the last time that my name Mortimer was popular, believe it or not, all the way back in the 1800s. So that means Lucy has been standing here for a very long time. But this is not where we built Lucy. Lucy was built 2 blocks over that way on Cedar Grove Avenue. There's a high-rise over there now where she used to stand. Now, from 1881 up into the early 1960s, a lot of stuff happened to Lucy. But by then, she fell into some serious disrepair. The family that owned her sold the land out from underneath of her to the developers, and the city of Margate condemned the elephant, and they were just going to tear her down. But a group of Margate citizens looked at Lucy and said, you know, we really love her, and we want to save her. So they formed the Save Lucy Committee. The city said, if you want to move her, you have 30 days to collect the money to do it. They literally went door to door all throughout the city of Margate. They did bake sales and everything else they can think of, and they were able to get enough money to lift Lucy up, take her for a walk down the street, and boom, put her here on city property.
You know how much it cost?
Huh? I forget how much it was. Now, they continue to raise money, of course, to restore Lucy to the way she was before we began our restoration project. Now, speaking of, if you're not familiar with Lucy's orientation, this is her rear end right here, and she faces the ocean over that way. So a couple years ago, we noticed a lot of rust was coming through the paint on her rear end. So we decided it was time to repaint Lucy. We have to do it every couple years. We're right along the ocean. So we wanted to change the paint though. So we were doing some paint tests on Lucy's legs. And as we were scraping the 50 years of paint off of her, that's when we found out that there was a larger issue going on. She was not only rusting from the outside of the tin that covered her, she was rusting from the inside of it as well. In some areas, the tin was completely gone altogether. So the decision was made to reclad Lucy, which we've already done. We took all the tin from 1970 off the elephant, and we put on this new alloy. It's called Monel 400. It's a mixture of nickel and copper. It is very rust resistant. They tell us she's going to be good for another 300 years, and we're happy with that. So get your tickets out, because guess what? We're going in an elephant. You don't have we're always doing fundraisers. So a couple years ago, we actually did a fundraiser campaign, and we partnered with the good people from Airbnb. And what we did was we auctioned off 3 overnight stays here right inside of Lucy for 3 different couples. So we decorated the elephant first. We put a 4-poster bed right there where the TV is. We did a little breakfast nook up there. Over here we have all the Victorian furniture, fainting couches, all that cool stuff. We did big area rugs, paintings all on the walls. It looked gorgeous in here. All these couples began applying online because everybody wanted to stay overnight in Lucy. And then 3 couples were chosen. They couldn't believe it. They're going to stay overnight here in Lucy the Elephant. And that's exactly the same weekend that COVID hit and the entire world got shut down. So we couldn't do anything about it, unfortunately, for about a year. But we did get them in, and they had a great time. Now, every time that we tell this story, somebody always asks us, are you guys going to do that again? No, we are not. Because do you want to know how hard it was to get a bed up these steps and all the other furniture? It was very, very hard. So we said we're not going to do it again, even though it was really fun. So come on over here. We're going to sit down on the couches now. I'm going to play the video for you. Now, in the video, we do have some footage from 1970 when we moved Lucy. So keep
automobiles. Air travel in the 1950s opened up new vacationing possibilities. Atlantic City started to see a decline in tourism, and so did Lucy. By 1962, Lucy was condemned. She said,
Josephine is no longer with us, but before she was our savior, we know she's up there now as our guardian angel watching over us. Now, like I said, we had that very cool Airbnb event, but before that, of course, Lucy was never a hotel. The Elephant Hotel was the building behind her at the time. But that doesn't mean that somebody didn't live here inside of Lucy. Back in 1902, a British doctor and his family leased out the Elephant, and they lived here for the entire summer season, actually a little bit longer than that. Before moving in, though, they radically altered the interior. This room here was divided into 4 with a hallway in the middle and a cross hallway. There are windows, and we do have a skylight right above us. That's a window as well. It's under construction right now. And that's because in the 1800s, the light bulb had just been invented. So we didn't have electricity or light bulbs here. So they put all the extra windows around Lucy, of course, to take advantage of natural light during the day. Now, normally this is when I take you up on the howdah, but we can't go upstairs right now. But a couple notes about the howdah. Lucy is 65 feet tall, so when you're standing up on her back, you're about 6 stories up. When I bring people up there, the first words are usually, oh, it's a lot higher than I thought. And it really is. Also, when you're on Lucy's back, you see the skylight right there? That's where the howdah is, and that means you have to walk on the glass of that skylight, which is very cool, but a lot of people don't like it. The original glass that was up there was green, and it was about this thick. It had been smashed through by the time we got Lucy in the 70s. We had put a crackle glass up there for a long time. You could kind of see through, but we decided that with our renovations, we're putting totally clear glass up there, so it will freak out a lot more people, and it should be a lot more fun for me. Now let's go over here. I want to talk about this country allowed to do animal buildings. It's a very weird patent to get. Now, in the video, you saw we had 2 other elephants around. The Light of Asia, that was down in Cape May. A group of real estate guys wanted to build an elephant down there, attract people to Cape May, and sell some real estate like Lucy was doing up here on this island at the time. So they approached James Lafferty to ask his permission to build one, because they had to. And he said, yes, you could build an elephant, but under one condition. Your elephant's got to be smaller than my elephant. So the Light of Asia was only 58 feet tall. Like I said, Lucy's 65 feet tall. He did give them blueprints and plans. He showed them how to build one. Now, it lasted for up into the year 1900. They ended up selling most of the land off that they wanted to sell, and so when it started to deteriorate, instead of repairing it, they just tore it down. Now, if you're ever in Cape May and you happen to be looking around thinking, I wonder where that elephant was standing, don't even bother, because the land that elephant was on washed away in a storm one year, so it's completely gone. Now, this one in New York, the Elephantine Colossus, that one was actually built by James Lafferty. Coney Island commissioned them to build an elephant up there as an attraction in the park, but it was called the Colossus for a reason. It was twice the size of Lucy, 10 stories tall. It had 30 rooms in the interior. They called them the heart room, the lung room, the liver room. I think that's very clever. Also, it was an elephant one. Now, it only lasted for 12 years, and unfortunately, it's a wooden building, and it did burn down. Now, a guy wrote a book about that elephant, and he came down here to visit Lucy, and I gave him a private tour, and we were talking about our elephants. And he told me that the year before that one burned down, they actually turned it into a brothel, of all things. And the expression was, meet me at the elephant. So I said to him, I'm telling everybody about that because it's too funny. So Lafferty owned Lucy for about 6 years or so. He made no money off the real estate idea that he had. So he decided to just sell Lucy off, and he sold it over here to the Gertzen family. So he actually sold it to John Gertzen's parents. When his father passed away, he bought the elephant and the Elephant Hotel from his mother. Now that's Sophia, of course, you might remember from the video. She's the one that changed the name from Elephant Bazaar. She nicknamed it Lucy, and we've been calling it Lucy ever since. So this is the Elephant Hotel. This building was originally in Philadelphia, in Fairmount Park. It was part of the Centennial Exhibition. It was called the Turkish Pavilion then. It was the 100-year anniversary of the United States, and all these countries put a little exhibits and buildings and stuff like that up there. When it ended in 1890, they bought the building. They dismantled it in Philadelphia, put it on a train, brought it all the way down to Atlantic City, transferred it to carts and took it all the way across the island, and then rebuilt the whole thing behind Lucy. That would be pretty impressive nowadays, considering they did in 1890. It's just astounding. Now, during COVID, we didn't have anything to do like everyone else, so we were doing a lot of deep research. And we found a brochure from the Centennial Exhibition. And in the brochure was colorized pictures of all the different exhibits, and one was of this building. So we saw that a lot of the windows in these arches and all these triangles here, all of that was stained glass. So it was quite colorful and really, really pretty. Unfortunately, in 1944, a hurricane completely destroyed it. It's all gone. It also destroyed our boardwalk here in Margate. You used to be able to walk from Atlantic City down the boardwalk to Lucy. We tried to get another boardwalk built here, but the citizens of Margate voted against it, so we're not going to have one, at least for a generation. Now, most of Lucy's superstructure, her bones, and a lot of the wood on the outside of her is still original, over 80% of it. The wood was taken right here in South Jersey in the Pine Barrens. A lot of it is cedar wood, especially the outer walls. The wood that's on the walls that go down the legs, except for that one panel, and the wood that's on the walls here that go up to the howdah, all of that's original too, from 1881. We do have graffiti upstairs on this side. It dates back to 1940 and earlier, which is very cool. But now that Lucy is a national monument, we do not do graffiti anymore on national monuments. Now, aside from what I just pointed out, everything else in this room had to be replaced. When we got Lucy, the rooms were still here from when she was a house. But bless you. But she had been closed for 10 years. Kids broke in here. Everything was destroyed. We had to rebuild all the banisters. We had to redo all the plaster. We even had to rebuild the inner walls and everything. We had to redo the floors. It took us 30 years, though, from 1970 up into the year 2000, to finally get her to look like she did when she first opened. We did use James Lafferty's original blueprints that he filed with the patent office. Now, if he was alive today and he walked in here inside of Lucy, he would recognize this as his elephant. Now, we did a lot of paint tests outside, but we also did a paint test on that windowsill back here, and we found out two surprising facts. Fact number one, all the tin on that windowsill is original tin from 1881. We had no idea that there was any of the original tin left, so we were really happy to find that out. The other fact was a lot more surprising. When we got down to the very first layer of paint, we realized that we had been painting Lucy the wrong color all these years. She was originally painted a very dark gray. She looked a lot like this photograph in real life. Now, we paint her a lighter gray. Now, there's another issue with the paint, but I'm going to be bringing that back up in a few minutes, but we'll talk about that later. Now, Lafferty hired a lot of the shipbuilders that were in Atlantic City at the time, in the 1800s. We had a shipbuilding industry there. And you see their influences all throughout Lucy. Right here in this room, if you look at her ceiling, it's the hull of a ship, and it goes right down to the bow in the front. And then that makes the eyes up there like portholes, of course. When you look at our outer walls, you see all the ribbing, just like the wooden ships of the day. And unfortunately, you can't see them, but the doors upstairs on the Howdah, they slide open and to go, like on a boat to go into the cabins, they're the same kind of doors up there. So we have a lot of nautical influences throughout Lucy. I think it's a really cool detail. It's really fun. Now, speaking of the eyes, let's go up to the eyes. The coast is clear. Bring the liquor in. Now, we've been told this story by the locals for years, and we have been telling the story on our tours, but we were never able to confirm that it was really true. Until recently, and in a really weird way, because we found that the arrest records of the people who put the lights in Lucy's eyes. They got arrested for doing it because it was illegal. So that means the whole story is true, and even better, it means Lucy helped out during Prohibition. Go Lucy. And I'm a bartender on my other job, so that's really awesome. Now, we don't normally let people in this little cabinet here. I'm going to open it up for you guys. Since I can take you upstairs, it's a little something extra. Now, it's not for the public, so just pop your head in and look around. But I'll explain some stuff that's in here. Now, straight ahead is Lucy's forehead. So it's the behind her forehead. And a very big storm came up. It came from that direction on the mainland. And I ran inside of Lucy and I went upstairs. I shut the doors up to the Howdah. By the time I got down to the body, the storm hit. I have to tell you, Lucy moves a whole lot more than I thought. She kind of sways back and forth like this. No. She moved so much that the flag moved. That's how much she moved. Wow. It was more than a little disconcerting, I have to tell you. But I kept reminding myself, she's been standing for 140 years. She's not going anywhere. But it was weird. Now, the two rectangular windows right next to you guys, back to the 1881 look, it created a problem.